is Wednesday, April 14th, 2021. Welcome to the South Carolina Inventors Forum. I'm your host, Adrian Pelkis. Glad you could join us tonight. I'm here with my co-host, my friend, and my fellow Rotarian, Tom Ledbetter. Tom, good evening.
Good evening, everyone. Good to see everybody.
Yes. So, welcome on. I'd like to start off again by thanking our forefathers that had the thought and the forethought to put right into our Constitution in the very first article, Article 1, Section 8, Clause 8, guarantees the limited use to our ideas, the exclusive rights. And these were property rights. And we are going to have some more discussions and talk about this a little bit further about what the meaning of this really was and how it helped make America great and what's been happening to change these laws that we need to get back on track. All right. Okay, welcome. I want to thank our supporters and some of our past presenters. We'll go through more in detail. These are fine people here in town that have come aboard to support us here on the board. And also some sponsors. And thanks again, Alicia and Tim, for being one of our sponsors. Love you dearly for that. Thank you. Some of our speakers we've had in the past year have been some great local experts like Doug Lineberry from Burr-Foreman, who talked to us about some IP issues. We had Lindsay Brooks, who talked to us about her approach on selling things live and finding out customer response. Local expert on 3D printing, John Carrington from the local success story Zverse that created the protective personal masks and gears. That's been a big seller and a big hit. Came to talk to us about their how they start and the services they provide to people looking to 3D print products. Our friend Marty Wilson was here speaking to us about what the capabilities are at Flextronics here in town. Is an enormous production manufacturing center that gears up to build and manufacture major equipment. And we love to have some of our inventors create and devise some things that we can see turn into a production run over there. Contract manufacturing, major scale, dispensing machines and all kinds of wonderful equipments. Your friend, our friend Chris here, Carmen, came aboard a couple weeks ago and told us about what he's doing there with you there at UIA and his own business pace and the great ideas and products he's brought to market, people he's worked with. We've also had Michelle Duger, who's a fantastic marketing expert local here in town, came and gave us a wonderful discussion about marketing basics, and is a great contact for us here. Adding to this, let's see, cursor been there? Yeah, Warren has been aboard a couple times, talked to us about what he's done with the National Council for Expanding American Innovation. I was particularly interested in this to have the idea that there's a program that they want to actually double the number of inventors in the U.S. by getting minorities and women and veterans involved. I'm all about and all supporting that. So Warren was great in coming in and expressing some of those ideas and things that the Patent Office is doing, as well as announcing his own book. And I am very happy tonight and proud to be saying I will be donating one copy of the book here to Midlands Tech College in hopes that someone will pick it up and read through it and find their way to bring their products to market. So it's a great book that we recommend for people starting off in the industry to learn how the industry really works. Warren's got amazing background in all kinds of different aspects of inventing and bringing products to market, open innovation companies. Last month we had Satish
Kumali.
Satish is an engineer turned entrepreneur, great inventor, has been working with wireless devices and controls, found a fantastic application in a way to identify mosquitoes and in fact report on it. And this is going to save countless lives He was a wonderful speaker last month talking about his entrepreneurial track and approach. And Tom, you've been coaching and working with.
Yeah, and he is a 2020 awardee of the what is it, the institute, and he's won a national award. He's been recognized by the government in India several times. And this mosquito tracking application is an Internet of Things application. So it's instantaneous recognition of a mosquito-borne threat. All right, wherever they are, and it's the MIT.
Oh, that's
yes, the MIT Innovators Award for 2020 in the public health sector. Okay,
excellent. He's going to be a local hero, and thank you for coaching him along, Tom. It's very significant work that's been done there. We also were quite delighted to have our local videographer. This is Dr. Thaddeus Jones, who's actually on our board here as well. Came aboard and gave us 10 tips for making videos, and that has been posted on our websites and online. And that's Fanatic Productions. And he's actually been helping a couple of other inventors I know here locally that decided they needed some video work done, and it's working out quite well. So those were our speakers from the past, and I am quite happy now to bring this up to the moment, our motivational moment with Brian Pearson. Brian Pearson is a John Maxwell graduate and is striving to build a tribe and a group, and has a couple now to help encourage people, motivate them, and help them become their best. And Brian, you ready to go?
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, thank you guys for having me again tonight. You know, Adrian mentioned the word tribe, and what it means for us is family. And that tribe of people that Adrian's talking about, we went from 4 followers just a few months ago to, I think we're pushing 337 now, Adrian, and interactions have been really great. And there's some really, really sharp people in there. So I want to give a couple of shameless plugs before I get into the motivational piece. But, you know, we've my assistant, Nellie Jackson, has come on board. Nellie is a nutritionist. She's a graduate of the University of Alabama. So we're going to fight quite regularly come football season. But she is working on her master's and in HR. And she is just top drawer human being. And you heard Adrian mention it. We are preparing for a live event somewhere. Nellie picked England, but we think it's very important to bring leadership to people all over the world and bring them hope, which was the foundation of my book. We also have Steve Dybel, who is the air jack guy for the number 22 Simon Pagenaud Indy car, who has come on board with me. Steve is a wonderful, wonderful facilitator. He's got background with Darren Hardy, but Steve is a 50-year-old guy that made it on this IndyCar team, and he's just got a tremendous story. Adrian, you were there for the first little webinar that we did, but Steve's coming on board as well to help get us tuned up for this. And then I have another gentleman who's a John Maxwell guy in Atlanta. His name's Alejandro Tornado. And Alejandro is just one of those phenomenal people you would ever want to run into if you need some motivation. But I want to start you with a quote tonight. It's from Andrew Carnegie, and it says, "You cannot push anyone up a ladder unless he be willing to climb a little himself." Mm-hmm. And that holds true with what you guys are doing. And the more you attempt to pull yourself along, the more you're going to have people coming around you. It's just basically the law of attraction. So I just encourage you to do that. And my thought today was this: many times, and Adrian, you're going to like this a lot because the correlation is we can either be a drone that flies in the sky and sees the whole field, or we can be a microscope which looks at a very, very small piece of things and miss out on the big picture. Too many times in our own personal lives, we do that. We get focused in on one thing that really has nothing to do with anything. And for you Lean Six Sigma types out there, it is about the vital few and the trivial many.
Mhm.
So my encouragement to you is pick the 20% of the things that are going to give you 80% of the gain, quit chasing perfection, and pull yourself up the ladder a little bit. Now, Nellie is doing that with me because the rigors of doing a live event somewhere in the world, we're talking about a 3-day event, is going to be very taxing on me. But Steve and Nellie and Alejandro have committed to helping me do that. And I just want to encourage you today to pull yourself up the ladder a little bit, and people will come around you to help push you to the top.
Awesome, awesome, excellent. Well, thank you for those wise words, Brian, and so true. I want to add this kind of a coincidence. There's the word ladder has been mentioned a few times today between climbing a ladder or someone who's up who has a tall ladder. Anyways, yeah, very well said, Brian. And you know, you have my support as well. So thank you for adding it tonight. And it's very true. I hope you enjoy what more we have to talk about tonight because it's about those same principles. So thank you very much, Brian.
My pleasure.
All right. So announcements. I'll do this quick because we'd like to keep it on time. Anybody have any new products? There's only a couple of us here, so if anybody has a new product you'd like to shout it out, I'm happy to hear about it. Otherwise, we'll keep it moving. Okay, we'll keep it moving. Some announcements. I caught the wind this week. The pet industry announced that it's past the $100 billion mark. I remember about 10 years ago, it was only 52. So this is how fast, I mean, we love our pets to death. We love it to where we'll take care of them better than we'll take care of ourselves. And it's showing. And what this amounts to is amazing numbers of new opportunities for inventors. And I'm very happy to know a number of them that are in fact bringing the products to market. I myself is one. I'm one. If you saw in the newsletter, I think I posted about the LumaSoothe pet light. So I'm playing along part of this industry as well. So it's a great industry to be in, and it is a growing industry. Now here's a growing industry, but it's quite sad, but that doesn't mean it isn't another avenue of opportunities. There is, not only because of the pandemic, because of other issues, such a problem with mental health in this country, and it's finally becoming less of a stigma to talk about. It's becoming a little bit more open and known. And the more we're knowing about it, the more we're realizing how many are suffering and how many have problems with it, which is leading to a number of either telemedicine devices or other devices to help people to adjust their moods and to do anything without drugs as the target. We have over 600 billion spent on drugs for anxiety in the US alone, which is a shame. And you know what happens with opiate abuse and all those sort of things. So anything that can help people with their mental health problems, and it can be a product. Imagine again how successful that's going to be here. Last announcement. Well, as we mentioned before, with this pandemic, when the going gets tough, the tough get going. People have lost their businesses, lost their jobs, and they're realizing that entrepreneurism is, in fact, a solution. And we're seeing and witnessing that as Forbes published the new business startups have doubled. I had a lovely discussion today with Laura Corder with the South Carolina Department of Commerce, talking about these same issues, and she pointed out the number of business licenses doubled from new business license issues have doubled from last year. So we are seeing the signs of recovery, and the people that are entrepreneurial and have the spirit and the motivation and the focus and the drive and the coaching are able to get things launched, and we wish them the best of luck because raising waters lift all boats. Okay.
Unless your boat has a hole in it.
Yeah. Well, the two best days of a boat owner's life is the day they buy one and the day they, anyway, enough boat analogies. Okay, well, are we back on schedule and on time?
Yes, we
Close
are.
enough. Awesome. Well, we have two amazing speakers tonight. Uh, uh, Both are with nonprofits, and I am a huge proponent for nonprofits to help the inventors and in the invention industry, because frankly, it's the industry itself has been plagued with people that really take advantage and scam people that are have a hope and a dream. They prey on them and they make them promises that don't come true, or they'll give them advice that is actually generic that they could have gotten for free from a nonprofit like us. So I'm very delighted and honored tonight to have two presidents of the two biggest, as I recognize, and important groups in the country, nonprofits for inventors, and that'll be Carmen Dosenko, who's starting out first with the United Inventors Association, and then followed by Randy Landernow. So first up is Carmen, and I've not been as personally acquainted with Carmen as his predecessor Warren, I must admit. Carmen, if you didn't know, I was actually on the board there of UIA for a couple of years under Warren, and I'm really delighted now that you come aboard to see the enthusiasm, the energy, the clarity, and also the presentation qualities that you're bringing now to this group. So I welcome you to the UIA, and I welcome you here tonight to speak to us about what the mission is and how you're doing and what you're seeing and whatever else you want to talk about. So, Carmen, the floor is yours.
Thanks, Adrian. I'm nervous now. That intro was above me, so I do appreciate it. Love the UIA. Love inventing in general. Love all the things that we've been doing as inventors. It has been challenging throughout this year to keep things going on, but it is coming around. We're starting to see a lot more inventions, inventors, and questions coming through the UIA. That it's really it's great to see that people are starting to come out and hopefully at some point getting back to normal. I did take over for Warren, which he told me that it wasn't a big deal, but it's been I'm glad he stuck around, put it that way. You know, I used to be able to clear my email box out, my inbox out before I left it. Now I have 100 extra emails, but it is fun. You know, I didn't realize I've been on the board kind of like you, Adrian, and I didn't realize, you know, that next level where you really are, you know, really hands-on helping inventors at that top level, because, you know, I'm working with them directly. I'm answering questions, and it is fun. It's fun to see that, and sometimes it's really grateful because they've gotten to you before they've gone in the wrong direction, you know, or spent money on a resource that they didn't need at that time. Not saying that's one of the things I'm trying to turn around and let inventors know that just because you have an idea, you shouldn't have everything for free, but you do have to spend funds in the right time and the right resources at the right sequence. You know, so it is fun being able to kind of get to that early, you know, in that sense. We have a lot of things going on at the UIA that we're trying to, you know, move into the next steps. We're really redoing UIA, trying to bring in a lot of memberships, trying to really connect more closely with the clubs around the country. And, you know, Adrian, you probably know, I know that has been a lot of talk of that, you know, over the years. And we're actually going to do it this time. So it's going to be a lot of fun. Have you spoken with anyone about that, Adrian, at all?
You know, I'm still connected with a few of them. We've met and we do communicate now back and then. So the whole idea that UIA, the integral portion of this are the clubs. We are the foundation. We are the grassroots portion of this. And the better you can communicate and relate to this level, the stronger and the better for all. So I am delighted for that, and was an advocate of that very much so during my tenure there, and I'm glad to see that's taking a lead.
Yeah, and you know what's odd about it is, and you guys might have experienced this, is that being on the UIA board, I used to say to people, you should join the UIA. It's free. We'll be able to help you. And so many people would say, "What's the UIA?"
Yeah.
And then their next question would be is, where did it come from? When did you form? So that's one of the things we're trying to do is we're trying to put together a history of the UIA so people know we just didn't start up last week or a year before. Somebody like you, Adrian, we could do an interview, or some of you guys that are on here, and talk about the UIA, that it's been around, and because people want to know of the history before they just jump in.
Yeah.
And
Well,
to tell you the truth, I don't even know that much about it. I know several years back, but I would love to know everything and how it transpired.
Well, it's an interesting foundation in history, and as you've mentioned, there's so many stories of people that have come and made something of their idea. But I think it's even more important to see where the future lies for this group and the organization and what you're bringing to it. For example, that education series that you guys have been putting out is really top notch, really excellent material. I'm really delighted how that was come together. And so, what more is planned for that?
Yeah, so we're planning. We started off with just a few shows. We said, hey, let's just do some shows, and as you said, we got a lot of people coming back, asking us questions, saying, hey, when are you doing this again? Can you cover this subject? Can you cover this subject? So we said, okay, let's do it again. So now we're going to do it. We're going to try to do it every quarter for, a 10-show series. I don't know why we chose 10, to tell you the truth. It's just,
Round number.
I wish I had some scientific answer behind it. But, so we're going to keep doing it till people stop watching. The great thing about it is that, like with you, Adrian, and your club, recording it is so important, because as people come in, we're building, that's one of the other things we're building. We're going to build a big knowledge base. And when people come in, they can watch just what they need to learn at that time. Yes. And it can help them, just helping one person when they needed to watch a series or something at that time. Man, I would love to hear that feedback from somebody, so very important.
It's so important, and it's an excellent asset. And that was one of the things I was most proud about my accomplishments back in San Diego. Is we created a whole series of these. We ended up with more than 150 high-def videos, and each one was a speaker, a specialist in their area that gave the 101 or the basics, and that became a fantastic library. I still get emails. I got an email about 2 weeks ago of somebody, a kid in another country, who said, you're my favorite person to watch, and I've watched all the videos about inventing on the YouTube. So it is getting out there. There's been over 30,000 views. It's probably more than that. Was the last time I looked at it.
Who's counting?
I'm not counting. Well, I'm not producing them anymore either. Ever since
I love seeing that.
2018 was my last year there, and we're starting up out here now this year. So there's a few years gap, and the pandemic shut it down entirely for a while. But I'm expecting they're going to get back up on its feet. Point is, having that asset, having that library allows people that have any interest to look by subject and find the most amazing speakers that'll give them the top-notch information for free.
Yeah, it's perfect. And then we're going to go from the knowledge base, which we're going to try to cover everything possible, from the videos and the recorded workshops, but to also actual courses where we're going to be asking people like yourselves to put together or think of a course that you would like us to put together. And then people will be able to jump on there and go through these courses and maybe even get a certification that they went through a course. But we really want to get the inventor involved to where they're having fun learning about what they should do in a sequence.
Right. I'd be happy and delighted to contribute to that. I have, in fact, was hired by San Diego Public Library and put together a course called Pursuing the Spark. It was an 8-week course. A number of other courses I've actually created and given in lectures. So I'm happy to contribute to that. The idea of having a certificate is interesting, especially if they're going to approach investors later to show that they actually had some training or move up into another entrepreneurial class, especially. That would be valuable. I'd be delighted to hear how UIA could expand to actually have a syndicate of inventor clubs that all fall under a common formula, and but individually have individual speakers, but as a united front, becomes a real syndicated network of clubs to where it's even easier to spread this information. Right now, a few of us are friends and we might share our stuff, but what do you think of that, Carmen?
Yeah, so it's as you know, it's a large undertaking. Anytime you get more than two people involved in anything, or two clubs, or but what's great about it is we all have a common target, a common goal in a sense. Yeah, we might go about it differently, but in the end, we're all trying to do the same thing: have knowledge, information, help people, and of course, bring products to market and make money if you can. I love making money, but if we can do that in the right way and help other people do it, it's even more fun. So we're trying to put together most of the clubs that we want to bring under an umbrella, say, if you want to call it, should be a 501c3.
Thank you.
And again, these are things that I'm learning. So I think it's important in that sense, just because we can keep it congruent. You know, we don't want to have one club that we bring under that is not kind of following the same thing, or doesn't have as much responsibilities, or can do some things. So, you know, you don't want that bad apple in a sense. Not that they're bad, but it's just they won't have to follow the same thing. Because let's face it, a 501c3 or 4, it's tough to maintain all the paperwork and do all that, you know, on the back end. So we're really looking for either the club to be a 501c3, or we will help them, or if possible, even if we had to bring them under our umbrella to get them started. We will have just, I don't want to call them rules, but we'll have things that we all can agree on. This is what we want to talk about. We're going to use
guidelines.
Yeah, we'll get a pool of speakers, you know, but we can bring other people in. We're not going to be like, you know, terrorists or, you know, crazy, but we want to make sure that we're all moving in the same direction and speaking the same word. It may be in different verbiage, but it's still the same.
Right.
You know, and what I love about, you know, when I first started even my podcast, when I had hair, I mean, years ago, you know, I used to have to teach people how to use Zoom. They'd say, what the hell is Zoom? But now that people have been thrown into it, we can really have a person who belongs to a club anywhere be able to jump into this meeting. Why not?
And they are. And they are.
So there's a lot of connection that we can do that we can really spread the word. And obviously strength is in numbers. If we need to do something, or, you know, Randy says, hey guys, I need everyone to do this. I need to call this. I need to send a letter. We can reach out to so many people with the push of a button. We can really make a big difference.
Yeah, one thing that we're finding with Zoom, we're actually getting through, Adrian, you'll appreciate this. So I used to spend a lot of time in Washington, D.C., but you can't go there now, right? Because you can't get in the buildings. We're getting to more actual members, the actual elected representatives on Zoom than we were when we were trying to do it the hard way. And partly it's because we can get a lot of constituents on the call, and, you know, which is hard to do if you're in DC, to have a lot of different constituents for all these different offices. But Zoom is pretty wild. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's really open. I think it really is helping us move in the direction that we want to go.
Well, that's excellent news, and it is being accepted. I've witnessed it myself. I do free coaching every Thursday for a decade and a half now. That is an hour to help people figure out where they're at, where they want to go, and how they can get there. And I was doing it different ways. The last way was actually trying to hold meetings at a restaurant, and, you know, one person would show up every other week. I've been posting it more recently on Facebook and LinkedIn, and it's gone from 1 or 2 to 120 to the last thing I posted on LinkedIn had 3,111 views. So yeah, this is a whole different way and platform to get the news out. Once people realize you actually are giving valuable content, and they can trust the source, things start to snowball, as we're seeing here in our own group, and Brian, your group as well. So, but Carmen, that's excellent news, and I'm delighted and excited about it. And the whole mission there is similar to ours, in that you advocate, which we'll talk about later, when inventor rights are about. You empower and you provide access, which I always loved really about what UI was doing when they do the home and garden shows and the tool shows, and I see some shows are actually coming back to life. What's the status on that picture as far as getting shows back to where inventors can show their new wares?
Yeah, we're just starting to get information from some of the shows, like the hardware show, the home and garden. There's some new shows are sprouting up because the other shows have kind of gone either online or they're half of what they used to be. But we're just starting to get information on some of the shows, which we'll push out to you guys as we get it. There is a couple new shows starting up, and we're just getting that information. But it is coming back, like you said, Adrian. I don't have exact information yet, but we are just starting to get people calling. And what's awesome is that they're calling us because they know that the inventor areas are the most popular areas.
Yeah, the most fun too, and it's so needed because just virtually it's all 2D. You can't smell it, you can't touch it, and if you're crazy enough, taste it. And it's just such a disconnect. You can't really measure the people's real emotions, sounds, movements. It's just not the equivalent. It's not the same, in my opinion, not as valuable. My trade show in San Diego, well, the only one show I do every year was the San Diego Electronics Show. Canceled again this year, but this year was because of lack of attendance. Most people realize the shows online are easier to get to, but I was very sorry to see that go, and I really hope we can bring that back. And so let's get all these shows back, like Consumer Electronics Show. I love presenting there, and it's an amazing place to witness.
By the way, Adrian or Carmen, I'm hoping to make it to the PGA Merchandise Show next year. I've been in contact with them for quite a while. They actually have an inventors area, and it's been very popular. And I've got a product that I've been working on just kind of on the back burner for several years, which has allowed me to do some, product testing and different things like that. So if Carmen, if you hear anything about the PGA Merchandise Show, please forward that to me.
Yeah, we will. That's the one thing we want to get all the clubs together so we can disseminate information very quickly. But yeah, the UIA runs that show, Larry. So, so once that show comes back on, we'll be in touch and we'll get you set up there.
Perfect. Thank you.
I love that show. I get to go there and see all the new golf stuff. I mean, I just hit the ball into the water or the woods, but it's nice to have new stuff.
Yeah, I've along the way helped a few different golfers with some interesting products, and yeah, the most fun I have is just knocking the out of the ball and see. That's not my thing, but well, it's a fantastic show, and the rest of these again are great opportunities here in back in San Diego. The direct response TV, it turned into a different name for that expo, but that was a fantastic show to have people learn about the as seen on TV industry, as well as we had cornered almost, I don't know, maybe an eighth of the floor for tabletops for inventors to show their wares. And it was so fun one year. Forget what the celebrity's name is. She's on morning radio shows. Anyway, she was walking around with a film crew and she saw this guy's invention. One of our club members had invented a way to make a pie inside a pie. So you had a weird pie shell, a pie pan with a pan inside it. And when you're all done, it made a pie in a pie. And she saw this thing. She said, "Stop the camera." She got all excited about it. Lisa Gibbons?
Yeah, Lisa Gibbons.
Yeah. She had that young couple on TV the next day. Anyways, fantastic place to be discovered, get discovered, and learn how the industry works. And all the rest of these shows just as well. I was commenting today with a friend I just met. We were talking about how many shows we've gone to. We had so many name badges that we could actually coolly wallpaper one of our rooms with badges from these things. And just remembering all the benefits that brought us and wonderful relationships and things that the shows do for inventors. And a way to learn the industry.
Yeah. I remember used to complain about, I got to go to a show next week, or I got to do this. And now I'm just waiting to go. We got to get out of here,
No, I ended up, I got in a point where one time I was actually not crashing shows, but going to ones that I had absolutely no knowledge about. I one time was exploring the idea of bringing a dental product to market, and I really know nothing about the dental industry. So I went to the biggest show in San Francisco, spent a whole day, came back with 4 heavy carrying bags full of contact materials, and also the business cards of 4 people that I just briefly mentioned my idea, and they handed their cards so fast. It's like, when you get that going, you got to call me. So
Oh, yeah.
it is where you do start planting some seeds and making those connections.
I don't know if you guys know, but I don't know if you ever been into some of the shows, but they made a mistake of giving me a press pass one time because I had the podcast, and they said, "Oh, well, you saw your podcast." Yeah, they have food there. The press, I mean, they're feeding them. I was like, "This is the best thing ever." So now every time I go, I got to get a press pass.
Well, yeah, that you get a whole bag full of you get a whole bag of tchotchkes. I don't know how many stress relievers and back scratchers you need, but you'll get your share full. Now, free samples are great. I have to I'll mention this. I went to an international something inventor show, first one about 5 or so years ago in San Jose, and so the whole floor was international inventors from all over the country, all over the world, excuse me. And they were bringing the samples of their products. And I tell you, I've never had a stranger bag of sample products and ideas than when I was at that show. Well, about 2/3 were Chinese, so there was some very interesting pairs of underwear, clothes, all kinds of bizarre industry things. The thing I'm actually most favorite was an inventor who designed a new type of very ergonometric pen, gave me a sample of that, and I still use it to this day. Anyway, all kinds of things you meet. Carmen, what do you most want to do with the United Inventors Association during your tenure there?
Yeah, so my biggest things, just my wish list would be, obviously, we're really working on getting the clubs together. That's one of our biggest things we're working on. Really, really important. Then we're putting together, there's so many things we're working. It's one of those things, as soon as I jumped in, I said, we got to do all these things. But then everybody said, yeah, we can't do all those things, but we're doing as many as we can. The club, getting the clubs together, I think is very, very important. So we can all have a voice. We could really, put everyone together and not to say it in a bad way, to be powerful. We need, when we talk, we need people to listen in that sense. And then we're setting up the knowledge base. We want people to get knowledge, experience, courses, as much information as possible. And then the other, we're putting an ambassador program together. And if you know anybody or you guys want to help out, the ambassador program is going to be, inventors it's kind of think of a sheriff who needs to deputize people. Yeah. I can't put everybody on the board, so I need others to help. So we're going to bring an ambassador program together. We have several really good ones because the UIA has never really touched other markets. Like we talked about the PGA show, the golf show, the hardware show. But these are pieces that, seasoned inventors go to.
Yeah.
But we don't work with children and special needs and music and books. There's so many other things that you can call innovative or inventions. Yeah. And we're bringing those people that are working on those as ambassadors to bring those inventors and young inventors and special needs and music inventors and the health industries, bringing those in. And we're really going to touch a lot more markets.
Well, there's so many subsets that you can, in fact, create, especially with the baby boomer market right now and their needs all across the board, from home to AIDS, senior AIDS, mobility aids, and so on. There are certainly ways to have subsets of these things. Also, I like that idea that we have a group that just helps the veterans, as one myself. And yes, there's some great ways we can focus and help people that are just in that niche realize there's a lot more people just like them, and then help them with that specialized information. So I salute you on that drive to unite the clubs, Carmen.
Thank
you for your service, Adrian.
Thank you for yours.
This is Tom. I'm sitting beside of Adrian here, and Carmen, and I mentioned this when Warren, on the first time Warren came on board, and that is there is a level of education out there called community colleges, Carmine, and I think, you know, if you got close, if you in your platforming for UIA could engage the community colleges, all right, and you know, and I'll cover South Carolina for you, but so that only leaves you 59 other states to cover, or 49 other states. But the thing is, we get a lot of touch from the communities that we serve when people come up with an idea. What do I do with it? Where do I go with it? How do I get a prototype made? What can we do? And I think it's, as far as UIA, it's a really untouched resource that's nationwide right now. There are close to 1,300 community colleges in the United States.
Awesome. Awesome. Great idea. Yeah, actually, I help with veteran affairs at Hillsborough Community College. So that's where we kind of got that idea to have an ambassador for veterans. As veterans come out of the service, they have awesome ideas. They're motivated, they're organized, and they're ready to go. I mean, they don't mess around. When we meet
They're
with them,
disciplined.
yeah, they are ready to go. So we were like, okay, we can help you. Like, okay, help me now. You know, we don't want to hear about it tomorrow. You know,
And by the way, they were just trained by the greatest military force on the planet.
exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's awesome. So yeah, I agree with you. I think if we can get more ambassadors in different states and different cities, and that's what I want the ambassadors for. I want them to go to small shows that we've never ever been to, or we wouldn't even have heard about it. And if when people ask, is there a local club? They can say yes. Go to the website, find your local club. We want to be able to spread the word to as many people as we can with the ambassadors.
I think it's really important that you move into the pet industry market. I've been to pet trade shows, and there's so many of our own inventors that we could certainly make an impact in there, and that would be important. But back to this idea of the unifying of the clubs, I'm going to show you a picture in just a minute, Carmen, of what happened here a couple of years ago with Randy and a few others, and actually most of the club owners, club leaders, excuse me, in the country, when we came together a couple of years ago to approach Washington. And I don't know if you've seen that picture before or not, but it's very motivating to see that, in fact, we have had this vision, have shared this vision, and are looking forward to continuing it. So I'm just going to skip ahead in the pictures. Well, no, I can't, because the next one's sorry about that. Well, there's a picture you're going to see coming up once Randy's speaking. It's part of my discussion about how I met Randy and we joined and what we did together. But in fact, it is important, Carmen. I salute you. I applaud that effort. I'll be supporting you. I personally in contact with a number of other club leaders informally, and I'll impose upon them the importance now to be a little more formal about joining this effort. And we have to figure a way to make it a regular contribution schedule so that people know they are part of something and they are being counted on doing something, and then they'll be accountable for it. And then it'll all add up to an amazing thing when we have even 20 national club leaders that can come and regularly tell us what their club's latest success was, perhaps, or what their latest finding was. That's a great resource. This will organically grow to be the most powerful network in the country. So go, Carmen, go.
Yeah, 100%. I agree with you. And Adrian, you said it exactly right. You know, having accountability and being a part of something really is what will drive everyone.
Yeah, absolutely. Carmen, thank you so much. Please stick around and listen to Randy here with his next
I wouldn't miss it.
part of this. It's really important what's going on here. And yeah, we're ready to go. Randy, are you ready? We're going to bring you up next. Okay.
Look how great that picture is. It makes mine look terrible.
You know, I actually took that in Washington, D.C. There happened to be a spot, and I thought, maybe that'll look okay. I took a bunch, and that one came out pretty good. That's a selfie.
It is,
Look, it looks like the alcove at the Lincoln Memorial.
No, this is actually right in front of. It's one of the U.S. House buildings. It might be – right there, I think it's the Cannon House building. Yep.
Right.
Yep.
Okay. All right. 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 All
Wow. Okay. It's
They got some great architecture.
That's why I wore a hat though, because I still have a full head of hair.
oh, man. Okay.
My hair is holding on, but it's fighting. It's fighting.
It's wisdom.
At least I quit pulling mine out, so we'll see. Hey, it is my pleasure and honor to introduce Randy Landreneau. Randy and I go back to 2015. I was running the San Diego Inventors Forum and kind of minding my own business. And this guy kept sending me letters going, "Hey, do you know this stuff that's going on in Washington? This patent law changes." And frankly, I was a little bit aware of it. We had a speaker before called Dr. Kaz Nelson, who gave us this very in-depth presentation about the changes to the American Invents Act law. And it was such an amazingly depth presentation. I don't think anybody realized what the impact was of what he was saying, because it was right at 2011. But Randy was very involved with this, and come 2015, one of his letters struck my, he was passionately asking for any inventor at all to fly out to Washington to join them for almost an emergency panel session to discuss what a disaster it would be if they continue passing these laws. And the law at the time that was pending was H.R. 9, which was a bill that the worst thing I saw about it was that it was going to enable them to pierce the corporate veil and go after your investors. If you lost a case at the patent office because of the new patent laws, to make matters worse, they could actually go after any investor that was over like 5% or so of your company, pierce the corporate veil and get the money from them. And this is like a dead stop. Why would investors even want to get involved with startups anymore? Anyway, I was very happy to fly out to Washington, join Randy, met him at the time, and was delighted to add my name to that cause and help him along. And along the way, and here's this picture, Carmen. I want to tell you this.
Hey, there's Adrian.
lower left-hand corner. Up in the upper left here, what happened is Randy and Paul Bourneville had been working together trying to convince congressmen to change their minds and look into this. And once I got involved, I realized this was a very necessary thing. And I forget which meeting it was, but the three of us in an office there in Washington with Charlie Sauer actually formed US Inventor. It had been a group that Paul Bourneville and Randy had created, but we decided to formalize it. Now, I was honored to be a founder of that and to work on a number of their programs and go to events in Washington, including our demonstration in front of the Supreme Court before they made a terrible decision. And another event that we're also most known for is the fact that we were in front of the US Patent Office burning our patents. And it was world news, not US news, world news. Anyways, US Inventor has an amazing mission. I'm behind it 110%. And so, ladies and gentlemen, friends and folks and fellow inventors, I introduce you to Randy Landreneau.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. So, you know, I want to first give you the good news. The good news is that when we stick together and enough of us fight the fight and do it the right way, we can get a lot done, and we can stop. What Adrian was talking about in 2015, there was a bill. Now you got to realize big corporations have been trying to weaken our patent system for a very long time. It's not that they want to get rid of patents, but they don't want the guy in a garage. They want to be able to, you know, Apple and Samsung want to be able to kind of fight each other or whatever, but they don't want that guy in the garage with the thing that's really going to compete with them like they were when they started, right? They don't want that guy to have a patented technology that can be defended, right? Because that's a threat. In fact, in 1998, Bill Gates was interviewed. So this was at the peak of when Microsoft was at its peak. And the interviewer asked Bill Gates, hey, what is it that worries you the most in business? And the interviewer thought he would say something about Oracle software. And what he immediately said was somebody in a garage inventing something I haven't thought of. And that was the thing that worried him. And that is what worries big corporations. And most of these corporations started that way. One or two individuals, no money, but some great ideas and a good patent system to back them. Because without a good patent system and to be able to protect the right to your patented invention, somebody bigger and stronger than you can just take it. And it could be, in many cases, impossible to fight them. In some cases, maybe you can do it, but it's not what our patent system was designed for, was to enable disruptive startups, because disruptive startups are what's needed to change things. And actually, that's the way we would not end up with huge monopolies like we have now. In a minute, I'll describe to you why we don't have disruptive startups competing with big tech now. They've changed our patent system specifically to get rid of competition, and they're working very hard to keep it that way. But first, let me give you the good news. So there was a bad bill I'll tell you about in a minute that was passed in 2011 called the American Invents Act. That's what we're fighting now. But 2 years later, another bill that was just as bad, maybe even worse, it passed the U.S. House in a landslide, and nobody even saw it coming. I mean, I one day, looked at my news feeds, and oh, some kind of patent law passed. I started looking at it. It was called the Innovation Act. They always name it something that sounds decent, right? And I started looking at this thing, and just to add a little data to what Adrian said, one of the things it had in there was it's called loser pays. That's where, if you as an inventor, let's say you have to sue a huge corporation for patent infringement and you don't win. Now, maybe it's a legitimate case and maybe your attorneys are bad and their attorneys are the best money can buy, and you just you're unable to win this case. You could owe them their legal costs. That's called loser pays. It could be $5 million. And what Adrian was referring to is, if you haven't had an investor who is connected to your invention, maybe the guy gave you 50 grand to help get this thing going or whatever, that investor could be liable. If you don't have the 5 million when they come after you, he'd be liable. In fact, when we started fighting this bill, universities didn't even have a clue. Later, they became very aware. So you're at a university, you're a researcher, you get a patent, it's all part of the university system. The thing gets licensed outside the university to a company that's in the, selling something like, maybe let's say it's a medical device or something. If that company out there has to sue someone for infringement and they don't win, that loser pays liability goes all the way back to the university. And anyway, this bill passed it passed the House before anybody even realized what was in it. And again, it was all because of big tech pushing this false narrative about all this frivolous patent litigation and using their term patent troll, right? But that's basically, that term has been so widely painted. Basically, anybody who sues for patent infringement is a bad guy, right? But so anyway, this thing passes the House in a landslide, 325 to 71. And I found out about it immediately, and I started fighting it online. I didn't know you could go to Washington, D.C. and fight these things face to face. And I found another guy like me, Paul Morinville, doing the same thing. And he said, we got to go to the Senate and stop it, because if it passes the Senate, it's law. And we went there, and we went to 70 of the 100 offices. And this was in early 2014. And one for one, they said, we didn't realize there was even another side to the issue. They had only heard from big tech lobbyists. And honestly, we slowed it down, and so it didn't get anywhere in that Congress. But then the next Congress, it came back. That's 2015. This time it came back stronger than ever. Adrian mentioned it was HR 9. When a bill is numbered less than 10, oh man, it is totally expected to pass. It is like an absolute priority. And in this case, it had more power than ever behind it. I have no telling how much Google spent to try to pass this thing. And of course, we then had some allies, and that was when Adrian and a lot of inventors came in, and thank you for your help with that, Adrian. But in the end, the Judiciary Committee passed it, and that's the committee it's got to go through. So then it goes to the floor. But we had talked to so many other members who basically, I think kind of what happened was they said, don't bring it back. Don't make me vote on this thing again. Because here's the thing. All the experts said you can't stop it in the House the second time around because all these guys would have to change their vote and then they're called flip-floppers, right? Even if they know they shouldn't have voted the first time, they have a hard time politically changing their vote. And experts said, oh, no, there's no way. You can't stop it. Go fight in the Senate. And Paul and I said, well, screw that. We're going to stop it in the House. And in the end, it never got to the floor in the House. So maybe the first time in history. Actually, we've heard that. So we have more power than we realize. And inventors, you go to the Capitol building in DC and go to the basement where they have all the statues and stuff. Every state, they'll have statues of key people. And you know what? A lot of these people are inventors. For Florida, it's the guy that invented air conditioning. Same thing, you go to the rotunda, this famous rotunda in the Capitol building. It's this gorgeous fresco. And you look at it, it's beautiful. And in that fresco are some inventors, among others. Inventors are important, key part of this country, key part of the American dream. Would we even have the term the American dream if we didn't have the patent system that we created that was, you may not realize how revolutionary it was. In the rest of the world, everything was run by aristocracies, and aristocrats do not care about the little guy. They just don't. Little guy is nothing to an aristocrat. And our founder said, and so, if you were a friend of the king somewhere, you might have exclusive rights to something. Or if in England, if you were rich, you could be an inventor. Our founder said, hey, doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter what your status is. Come up with something valuable, and if it's patentable, you can own it. And you can do something big with it. And you can get rich, and it'll help America. It'll be good for everybody. And it was totally revolutionary. I wish I could find the quote, because at one point I found a quote from an English aristocrat who was saying, "Oh, America, look what they've done. They're crazy. They're screwing everything up. It's going to be a mess, And a few years later, at the next World's Fair, this guy said, "Wow, I was wrong." Because innovation, you give people incentive and unleash them, and wow, and that's what happened here. And for 200 years, we led the world in innovation. But unfortunately, big corporations have been trying to weaken our patent rights. I was kind of shocked to find out it goes back to as far back as 1850. 1850. And there's a woman who's written a lot about it, who's a historian. And you look at every key new technology. So something gets invented, a new industry builds around it. And in the early years, there are a lot of lawsuits, and the big corporations being sued for patent infringement go to Washington, D.C. and use their power and influence to try to lessen their liability. And, and it goes all the way back to, the telegraph, the telephone, locomotive, automobile, all the way up to cell phones and high tech. And of course, whatever the big industry is, that's where most of it is. And right now it's big tech. Now, luckily, our politicians held pretty firm over the years, and maybe they were smarter. Maybe they knew our history better. Maybe, there are a lot of reasons, but they held pretty firm. But we kind of had a perfect storm of everything going wrong and them getting something passed in 2011. And part of it is that big tech, look, they have a greater ability to reach the entire population to try to convince them with a narrative that something needs to be done. And look, you take these really high-powered, intelligent lobbyists and people behind the scenes, they can craft a narrative that you almost can't not follow. It just makes sense unless you really dig in and check the data. And they basically got this law passed in 2011, the American Invents Act. Are you guys pretty familiar with that, or not so much?
Well, I'm fairly well versed.
Yeah. The worst thing about it, I'll just talk. The thing that it created that has done the most harm is the Patent Trial and Appeal Board. We call it PTAB. This is what's used to invalidate patents by big infringers. Okay, if you try to sue an infringer for patent infringement, the first thing they do is they try to get you into this administrative court, the PTAB, to invalidate your patent. Now, you might say, wait a minute, how can they invalidate a patent? Well, here's the thing. If they're infringing, they could argue, well, I don't infringe. Or they could argue, well, it's bad patent. It's a mistake, shouldn't have been issued. Now, those fights about is the patent valid or not used to take place in real court. You know, jury, man, you want a jury if you ever are in trouble and you're innocent. Real judge, lifetime appointed judge who's not tied to somebody and hopefully honest and independent. Due process, a lot of due process. So that's where these fights would occur. And yes, some patents would be invalidated, but most weren't. Now it's an administrative court, no jury, not much due process. Instead of a real judge, you have a panel of 3 individuals who are attorneys, who are called judges. Sometimes they've even worked for the very company trying to invalidate your patent, if you can believe that. Yeah. And 84, and they don't have the experience of the patent examiner that issued your patent. They may have a science degree in that area, but their experience is in law. And you know, lawyers, I mean, it's like, anyway, I don't want to say too much negative about lawyers, but there are some lawyers out there that aren't helping the world. Anyway, they're invalidating 84% of the patents that get in front of them. 84%, that's it on my thing back here. Now, here's the thing. If you patent something that's not successful, you're not gonna have to worry about this, okay? If you could patent something that you might be able to succeed at and make money and make a living off of it, but it might still be kind of under the radar, and you might not ever get noticed by the big guys who want to rip you off. But if you invent something that's really valuable, and it doesn't matter if it's high tech. Certainly, if it's high tech, they're going to go after it. I've always wondered if golf companies might be more honest because of all the rules and stuff in golf. At some point, I'm going to do a study of this and find out. I kind of have this thought: maybe golf companies are not quite as evil. but here's the thing: whatever it is, if it's really valuable, the big infringer has an easy way to invalidate it and just take it. And here's a great example. Have you guys seen? Hold on. Have you guys seen this product?
Yep. Bunch of balloons.
Bunch of balloons. So basically, Josh Malone invented this, and he has 8 kids, and when they made water balloons, it took forever. So he had to come up with a solution. And of course, Josh, I mean, look, he's an inventor. He was working on lots of things, and real smart guy. But honestly, I never even looked at the problem. A lot of inventors, if they had really thought about it, might have come up with this, but no one had for like 50 years. All the materials here have been around for 50 years to make this. So he comes up with it. You can make 100 water balloons a minute, right? It's fabulous. They tie themselves. And his Kickstarter goes crazy. I mean, he had something like a 50 grand target for Kickstarter, and he raised close to $1 million, but a big company, Telebrands, big as seen on TV company, they jumped on it. Actually, they bought one of his from his Kickstarter and used it in their first commercial. And amazing, right? So, but here's the thing about Telebrands. They had about 100 lawsuits against them, and they had won every one of them. They would just crush the inventors, and because the system is not working the way it should. It's all wrong. So in Josh's case, luckily, he made enough money from the product to really fight him. Secondly, he didn't have just one patent, which this is some advice I want to give you. Don't just get one patent. Get your first patent, but before it issues, make sure you have some continuation patents coming out. And I'm not an attorney, and I can't tell you, my understanding is that's where you zero in on more specific characteristics or whatever, but you want to, if you're doing it or if your attorney's doing it, just make sure you want to have a bunch of continuations, because like with what happened to Josh. So they invalidate one patent, but then he has a continuation that issues. They invalidate that one, and he's got another one. So he kind of was able to stay in the fight. But honestly, he ended up spending $20 million, he and his company, and they finally won. but they could have lost it all. And they won good. I mean, they didn't, they did pretty well. Now, maybe he might have gotten a little bit lucky. Maybe there's some divine intervention. I don't know. But bottom line is he's now a key part of this effort at US Inventor. Josh puts in more than a full-time work week for free, in this fight. And he's been a key person. I mean, there are things I can do, but there are things I'm terrible at a lot of things that Josh is great at, But so here's the thing, that this Patent Trial and Appeal Board, the PTAB, it's so unfair. It's definitely a perfect example of this term you hear, which is unintended consequences, right? It wasn't intended by Congress. Certainly it was intended by, the companies that were pushing it like big tech. But by the way, I want to back up a little bit too. We talk about big tech and you might think, well, how much were they really involved? Well, think about this. So the PTAB amazingly operates out of the patent office. So you have one side of the office with examiners issuing patents. You have another side where if your patent gets challenged, that's where it goes, and they're the ones that invalidate it. Now, here's the thing. Hold on one second. I have to close my door.
So if you've caught on to this, again, the patent office will issue, then they'll come back and say, oh no, we actually didn't do our job right. We're going to invalidate your patent.
Yeah. Well, so the bill was passed, and the person who was the director of the patent office at the time that PTAB was created, right, hiring the judges, setting the rules, basically weaponizing it the way it ended up turning out, was the director of the patent office, who was the former head of patent strategy at Google. I mean, now you think, how the heck could that happen? Well, the director of the patent office is a political appointee by the president based on pretty much on who the big donors want. So of course, in our case, it's always the wrong person. In fact, when the American Invents Act was passed, when it was passed, right, before the person I just mentioned became the director, but at the point in 2011 when it was passed, the director was the former head of patents at IBM. And this person, David Kapos, had actually lobbied for these kind of changes, back when he was with IBM. So the bottom line is, luckily our founders set something up good enough that it's taken a while to get close to destroying it, right? And luckily, there are a lot of things that, I mean, gosh, the good news is we can stop anything terrible from happening. I'm certain we can stop. Like there was even, give you an example, in the big appropriations bill, there was some language buried in there that was going to expand a particular aspect of the PTAB, and like Josh, through some connections he has, found out about it, and we started having these, getting inventors in key states. I even had a Zoom meeting with the chairman's office of the Appropriations Committee, on this with constituents to try to head this thing off, and we actually succeeded. But man, you got to be watching and you got to be on it. And in 2011, we didn't have that. In fact, one of the big reasons is a key ally, Robert Rines, was an attorney who was famous. He was actually also in the Inventors Hall of Fame, and he was like the inventor that would go to Washington D.C. and pound on tables and keep terrible things from happening too quickly. And he died before 2011, and that's when the perfect storm occurred. But so what we're doing now, we are fighting to get some legislation passed now that'll restore our rights. And we had a bill in the last Congress. It was called the Inventor Rights Act. By the way, I came up with that name. And we're looking at reintroducing it, or possibly even narrowing it down a little bit to make it, to try to be certain that the key thing we really want to make sure that happens is that if you're an inventor and it's your patent and you have controlling interest in this patent, if someone wants to invalidate it, you should be able to opt for a real court. Why should they be able to force you into this unfair administrative court? And if they make it fair, you'll choose it because it would be cheaper if it were, but if you're going to be destroyed, that's pretty expensive. So that's one of the key. Now you might say, well, why don't we just get rid of the PTAB? Well, here's the problem. You have the largest corporations on earth with armies of lobbyists and mountains of money. And even though their public relations is kind of low at the moment because of everyone's worried about big tech, at least a lot of people are, they still have enough power to just come up with one or two examples of bad actors out there, attorneys doing something with patents that doesn't quite look legit or whatever. All they got to do is come up with a couple of examples in the whole country, and they can convince Congress, well, yep, you got to hold on to, you got to have a way to invalidate these, stop these situations where these attorneys do this, right? But in our case, so that's really why we focused on inventor, what an inventor, because we're not talking about, like, there are companies that acquire patents and litigate, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just that they have been painted, that it would be so hard to overcome what big tech has done to those guys. And also there are always one or two examples that look bad. But for inventors, people care about inventors. We have, in fact, at usinventor.org, that's our website, you'll see a number of little short 2-minute videos from about 20 or so inventors who've had to go through the PTAB. And each story is quite interesting. And you just click on it and watch it. We also have a longer description as well. But that's the kind of thing that matters. In fact, there are people, anyone trying to pass a bill that relates to patent law tries to say they represent inventors. And we're the group that really represents inventors. There's actually a bill in Congress that really is for the larger entities. You see, that's the other thing too. A bill that would help the larger entities would also help, like, big pharma. I mean, drug companies, they use patents. Some argue that they use patents to unfairly keep their prices high. Politically, you can't pass a bill that's going to help drug companies keep their drug prices high. That's just a political failure from the start. But a bill that'll help an inventor, that's passable. And that's what we're working on. So we're looking at perhaps narrowing down our bill from last Congress to something that might just address the PTAB for now and make it so that you don't get forced into it. And look, we're gaining steam. There's a person working for us setting up these Zoom meetings. And we're probably having about 10 to 12 meetings a week. And we're making an impact. People are getting interested. People that in the past Congress didn't seem that interested are now way more interested. We've also got some key individuals on the Judiciary Committee who are big allies that we didn't have before. So we're making progress. But the thing that would really help us is we need inventors, not just inventors, everybody, but especially inventors, to go to our website and sign our inventor rights resolution. Okay, it's just a resolution that says, the basics are, like, you don't believe that patents should be taken away by the PTAB, and there are a couple other points like that. And what that does for us, we've got a few thousand people on it now, but when we go, let's say we get a Zoom call that we're trying to set up with a particular office, we can look at all the people who are in that district, and we can actually get them in on the call. And we're doing that every day, and it makes it, look, this is crazy. There are 435 different congressional districts. So each one of those, that's how many US representatives there are. And to get them interested, you got to have some constituents in their district who care about it. And so that's what we're really fighting to get. But we're doing well. It's moving forward.
I remember an interesting conversation we had once before in that regard, was that if even 10 people in one of these parsonage districts actually on the same day decided to make a phone call,
yep,
they'd be blown out of their minds to see this is actually an issue, that people that are in their constituents care about this. It doesn't take that large number. It just takes a concerted effort, but in each district.
Yeah, phone calls. In fact, phone calls, look, we've been told directly, phone calls are way more important than emails. Maybe they just can avoid the emails, whatever, but phone calls, they log them, even 5 in a day. It's like, whoa, this is a big issue. And of course, they got a lot of issues. Look, our bill last Congress, it was HR, was it 5478?
Yep.
HR 547, 5,478. That's how many, you know, that's what they number them as they come out. That's how many bills were before us, right? So there are all these bills, and there's, you know, you've got to somehow rise your issue up to their attention level. And so that's what we're fighting to do. And we're, you know, I got to tell you, by the way, Adrian mentioned our patent burning protest. That's pretty radical, you know. Come on, going to the patent office and burning patents.
First time in history.
First time in history. Oh man, and they wouldn't give us a permit, right? And then, oh man, there are all these. You remember all the security there, Adrian? We should have taken a picture. They had Homeland Security and everybody. It's like, oh God, I was sure somebody would get arrested. I thought Paul for sure.
At any time, we all had plans to who's going to bail us out.
But here's the thing, though. Here's what came of that particular event. And by the way, Adrian should send you a link to the BBC coverage of it. It's pretty good.
That is.
But here's the thing, though. At the time, so Michelle Lee, who was the former head of patents at Google, so she had resigned as director, and Trump had not yet appointed the new director. And the guy who was right in line for it was a guy named Joe Mattal. Joe Mattal was an old-time, you know, what do you want to call, you know, I would refer to him as a deep state guy, right? But been in the system forever. And he was a staff member in Congress in 2011 and actually was involved in writing the American Invents Act, which is what we're dealing with. So here's the guy that wrote the bill, and he's going to become the head of the patent office. It was all wrong. And so we did this protest, and Trump, by the way, so the guy who was our PR guy for the protest was a former Trump aide. And I also had this ridiculously amazing connection to somebody whose godson was with Trump all the time. It was a ridiculous coincidence. And I got her the link, and she said it got to the right people. But soon after that, Trump appoints somebody nobody expected who was actually good for us and not from big tech. And somebody, Andre Iancu, who did some good things for sure, got fought every step of the way, but tried to do the right thing. And in fact, on his way out, he definitely put the guy that we wanted him to put in there as on the Patent Public Advisory Committee, Dan Brown. And that was a statement, you know. I mean, we pushed hard for that, but he didn't have to take it. But but here's the other thing too. So Biden, you know, he kind of owes big tech, and of course they're going to be pushing him to put the wrong person as head of the patent office. But we're pushing to try to make sure we get someone who's the right person, and we're making some headway there. Anyway, it's a long story, but it's interesting. But the key is we now, you know, we have a presence in DC. They can't avoid us. It's like, you know, we're kind of the thorn in their seat when they try to do something. Even look, gosh, am I running out of time, Adrian? I don't want to go too much.
Yeah, about another minute, and then
okay. Well, there was a bill. They passed a bill called the Success Act. So the Success Act was the Success Act part of it was to do a study to try to help there be more minorities and women involved in inventing. Okay. A lot of inventors are us, you know, old white guys. And there are probably a lot of real reasons why, you know, we're inventors and there aren't that many women or whatever. But bottom line is it's not, you know, okay, they want to do a study. But here's the thing. They tacked onto it something that they were really trying to pass, which was extending the patent office's ability to set its own fees without congressional oversight. There was this thing that was, and we were, you know, our viewpoint was, hey, we need congressional oversight. These guys are overcharging for certain things. This is not okay. And so we're in DC. I'm actually handing out hundreds of these things to all these offices. But the bottom line is, you know, if it's a bill for women and minorities, you can't really vote against it. And that's it. So it passed. And, you know, it's one of these things you got to deal with in DC. But I guess that's an example of something that, you know, that wasn't a critical thing. The thing we beat was a critical thing. That was the Innovation Act. The thing we're fighting now, the PTAB, that's critical. And we're making headway, we're gaining ground. But one thing I'd like you guys to do, you should go to our website, usinventor.org, sign the inventor rights resolution. You should probably hook up with me on LinkedIn, because I post a lot of good stuff. And get the word out. Spread this stuff to all your associates and anybody you know. They don't have to be an inventor. They could just be somebody who cares about America, you know, because we need everybody on this. And if you know of any people who are especially successful inventors who have a big following or who have done quite well, those guys kind of disappear, and we need to bring them back in to help.
Hey, you know, Randy, I like telling people, even if you have a child and you want them to be able to prosper from the labors of their mind in their future, you want to get behind this, because our rights to do just that, and again, what made America great in the first place, have been eroded, are disintegrating in front of our eyes, and we need to change this course. Otherwise, we're going to go back to those times where it's only the few that control all the system. And so let's escape screen. Go with this. I have a next slide, Randy. Oh,
what you got?
And it's important that people do join this effort and do sign, whether you're an inventor or not. It's really important, and do tell your friends and family that these issues have been going undercover. And yes, bills are getting passed that have these little tails in them that are affecting us, ruin our rights to prosper. We're not even going to talk tonight about the Supreme Court decision. That's entirely different. It's what Congress.
Yeah. Well, one good thing is we have one really good ally on the Supreme Court. That's Gorsuch.
Yeah. Well, 8 more to go is a long way. So.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's an issue that we fought against and lost, unfortunately, and that was the essence of whether a patent is a property right or not. And it was actually decided it is not personal property anymore. It is a public right. It's a government issued franchise for you to have the rights to your idea, which is still a right, but it's not under the same condition as what it was first intended or meant to be. When it's a property right, I can eat it, burn it, sell it, trade it, bury it, do anything I want with it. When it's a government franchise, you can't. And that is a fundamental, rudimentary change. But the rest of the discussions about what Congress can do, what we can do as citizens and the constituents of our representatives, if we inform them about our concerns and these issues, we can make a difference. And Randy, as a patriot, I salute you and I thank you for coming on tonight and sharing with us what you're doing, what's been going on, and what it means and how it's affecting us. And we'll keep sharing your information. As you know, I always have all these years. I'm happy to express the needs of our fellow inventors. So in closing, Randy, any other thoughts?
Oh, just thank you, Adrian. And you know, I know you feel it as much as anybody. You know, this is such a key part of our great country, and we can't, you know, failure is not an option in this. So we will push it until it's done, and just everybody needs to help us by, you know, getting the word out. And I really appreciate your help. Thank you.
You're welcome. You're welcome. And people here in the United States don't really understand and appreciate the value of what our system has been and for our citizens. And it isn't until you speak to somebody out of this country who's come here, they left wherever they were, they came here just for the right to develop their idea and prosper from it. And I remember in one of the courses I was teaching once, I forget the fellow was from Kenya, some other country, when I expressed to him what was going on with these patent changes, he almost started crying, going, I can't believe this. I left a country where this is, you know, I didn't own any of my ideas. I came here to be able to benefit from this. And now you're telling me this country is going in that direction.
Yeah.
Don't know what you've got until it's gone.
I can tell you, man, the quickest people I've gotten to our side, some of the quickest were the Ethiopian taxi drivers in DC. Yep. They get it. They get it, you know.
Yeah, indeed. Indeed. Thank you, Randy. We'll share your information, contact information, and so on. Here's the next slide is, well, okay. It was just one more slide as the contacts for the USI. We'd be happy to share with you. And they are in our newsletter as well that we put out this month. Again, it's usi.org.
usinventor.org. Yep.
Usinventor.org. Thank you, Randy. Say hi to Paul and Josh when you see him again. I understand Josh is out back west right now seeing his daughter. Otherwise, he'd come aboard. So.
Yep. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Randy. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. All right. Well, let's continue, and we can just cover a few more things that we normally discuss. I don't think there's anything been actually added new to this list of new opportunities, but I did in the last week have two people at least ask me how can they get 3D printing done simply, and I was happy to share with them that this company is really great nationally now, able to connect you with all kinds of different CAD providers to design a part, scan a part, make a part. Fiverr, I wasn't available tonight to discuss a new startup called Productified that we will be talking about soon, something I helped launch. But one of the things is it's a platform of a number of platforms. Fiverr is one. The ability to hire freelancers in all these different areas has actually become a game changer, that you don't have to hire them as a permanent employee. You can just hire them as a freelancer. Until that is, if the president changes the laws as California changed it with AB5, when you can't have a contractor anymore, but we'll burn that bridge when we get to it. Well, let's hope they don't pass that law, frankly, because we need freelancers. Anybody who's ever had a gig as a freelancer needs to keep their job. So many sources now for funding and financing. The age and day of angel investors and VCs is coming to an end. So many platforms for crowdsourcing and crowdfunding have come aboard and come up to help people at any level they're at, just starting or ready to go to next level financing. So these are a few of them that have been coming on the news that I've seen stories on, that are just doing amazing work and growing in rates we've never seen before. So it's just the way to launch. The things that have changed for inventors so drastically have been how social media and crowdfunding has changed the whole world of how products are sold and how investment monies come in. The world of 3D printing has completely changed how products are developed, invented, created, and prototyped so they can be demonstrated. And the third thing that's changed inventors' world is the patent laws. Inventors Partners, I'm going to try to get Roy Morgan to be a speaker for us. He's one of the bigger companies in the country that helps create those crowdfunding platforms, especially for Kickstarter. An amazing track record with getting Kickstarter programs over $1 million. We're very proud here in South Carolina to be a leader and growing, and a couple of groups are very, such as Millens Tech here and Innovate Columbia. We're very proud. We're the second most popular destination now for a company to move to anywhere in the country. Texas is first, and I know so many of them are just leaving in the droves from California. Know that one personally. I am happy to share with you that I have a new product development plan. I share it through the university, the college here, and this will help guide you through a way to both evaluate your idea and grade it so you can be objective with it. Your folks or your friends may not have been. I'll help you be objective with that and see if that's something that's worth developing. And if it is, the new product development plan is an Excel spreadsheet that helps you build your teams, build your models, build a presentation concurrently, so at the end you've got a working model ready to present and you know how and where. Talking to me personally is a possibility. I do meet on Thursdays. I have switched over now to doing this on, right now I'm using the Facebook platform, but I do share the links, and I am again delighted that when I was meeting in person, 1 or 2 people in a few weeks, and then Facebook was about 100-something views, and then I posted it recently on LinkedIn, and now we're over 3,000 views. So people want to hear stories. I have over 300 stories of products I developed, people I work with, companies I've launched, how they failed, some succeeded, and everything in between. I'm happy to share those stories to give you some ideas of what's really involved to be an inventor, being an entrepreneur, bringing a product to market. So, Tom, what's new here at Midland Tech? Is there anything you'd like to share? What you're doing in Alicia, perhaps, as well?
Well, I'll bring that up. One thing that we're doing with Alicia is I'm going to do it with Alicia Kehoe. She and Tim are one of the sponsors. Is we're having a Monday mentor match. Okay, and this is free service. You call in. You know, you're wanting to make connections. You're wanting dot connections to connect to a mentor in an area that you need. And we're using her network and my network here locally to connect people up. Okay, and there's a lot of excitement around that, and it's just started. It's just started. So we're in the early stages, but I think it's gonna. I think before it's over with, it'll keep us busy and keep dots flying. Okay? The other piece that I'm excited about is we're in April right now, and every month of this year, month over month, I'm seeing an increase here locally in the number of people that are contacting me saying, I want to start a business. You know, how do I take my side hustle and make a full-time business out of it? And that is it's exciting for the local economy. It's exciting for the people here, because you know we're South Carolina has a history of manufacturing, and we do that really well. We have a history of government, and we're government centric here, but there is that spark out there of entrepreneurship and innovation that things like South Carolina Inventors Forums is going to tap into, you know, and we will get there. I applaud the work. That is being done by the United Inventors Association and the U.S. Inventors. You know, so these are activities are great. And I'm particularly thrilled here at Midland State College to have access to a resource like Adrian. All right, and
very welcome.
And the depth of what he can bring to the table. So enough said. All right, so we go on there. Okay. Well, we're past time. Anyway.
Well, a little bit, but thank you for the compliment, and thank you again, Tom, for supporting us and your involvement in the networking that you've provided. And again, today, my earlier morning meeting with Laura Corder with the South Carolina Department of Commerce was very rewarding in hearing her understanding the need for this kind of association and group, and getting root connections made so people can realize there's a safe haven for people to meet others in their same position, same interest, and find resources and connections. Again, to trusted sources that aren't going to rip them off and stuff. So very important. Well, thank you for sharing that, Tom, and I wish you the best of luck. And Alicia, please consider me if anybody at any time you want to have a convert about talking about developing products. Happy to add my expertise to that. Dr. Jones isn't with us tonight, but he's out teaching video and video productions. He's a great resource for you to contact. Daniel Andrews is our resident network in action expert and has the Golden Rolodex and attends most every commerce meeting in town. Very extraordinarily connected. In a heartbeat, is happy to help you. He's an amazing resource and good friend. Carrie Rossin is doing an amazing job creating a safe space for women to feel comfortable, to co-create and have a place to escape, if not, to focus and get to support her. Charles, we'll be talking to you again soon here as we're coming around the end of the year. Some more cleanup things to do with corporate matters, but we're happy to have his help in these sort of legal issues. Our dear friend Tim Bradford is a mentor and a great spirit and advisor, and contributes in ways personally that we appreciate greatly. He's actually a coach and mentor and helps people in needs. Amazing asset to our community. Again, thanking some of our sponsors. I'm Inventing with Adrian. That's myself. For Foreman is our Loft. Yeah.
Doug Library.
I want some Bubba's biscuits.
Say again?
I want some Bubba's biscuits.
Don't we all? Hey, again, Thursday.
You come here, you'll get some.
This
Okay.
thing's about as big as your head. So
You don't ship?
yeah, RF is an amazing chef. He's created some great meals there, and his daughter is working there as well. I love their specialty treats. Unfortunately, though, I had to stop going there weekly because a biscuit a week is about 4 pounds a month. So, but anyway, Bubba's is a supporter. So is Flight Deck Restaurant. He's been in town here for decades. Ted at Flight Deck. My friend David Waller with Patent Success Strategies, and our dear friends Alicia and Tim Pio. Thank you, Tim. Thank you, Alicia. Tom, thank you again so much for hosting us tonight and allowing us to use your facility and all this great equipment. It turns out just fine, and we have recorded this, so we will be capturing this and getting this online. And so, gosh, folks, keep inventing. It's what made America great. It's what's going to keep America great. We are in a country that still offers the freedom to have the pursuit of happiness. And just remember, the American dream is a pursuit of happiness. So keep those rights, keep those wheels spinning, folks. And we will see you all next month, same time, same channel. Bye for now. All. Have an inventive day.
Thanks, guys. Take care.
Have a great evening.
Thank you,
you.
Carmen. Thank you, Randy. Thanks all.